Good morning. Hello, my coven. How are you doing this beautiful day? While I record this, I'm having my first cup of coffee in the morning, and I just wanted to spend this time with you. So whatever you're doing, I'm so glad you're here with me. It is a few days before Halloween as I record this, and I can't remember if this will drop before Halloween or just after. I feel like it's just after Halloween that it'll drop. So I hope that you had the most blessed Samhain season, that all the little ghouls in your life got lots of candy to share with you, because candy is a beautiful part of the season. I was hosted on so many amazing podcasts and shows and events this October season. I'm so full of gratitude. It's one of the things about being known as a witch. You do get very busy in October. So this episode, my love, is very off the top of my head, unprepared, just wanting to connect with you and share some wisdom. I've been doing a lot of spirit work while the veil has been so thin. I've received a lot of downloads and wisdom from my spiritual team, from my helper guide. So I want to get into that and share some of that with you. Before I do, I want to give a big shout out to Tara Diana and the beautiful Nancy for hosting me on Angels and Spirits and Guides. Oh my, it was a fun episode. It's on YouTube as well as audio platforms where you get your favorite podcasts. I was hosted on Vibrational You Spirituality with Kate. I love working with Kate. She has been on the Witching Half Hour or so. I've been on her channel as well. Really fun episode. Deep diving into all things witchy, spiritual, astral. Check her out if you haven't already. And a big shout out to the Sacred Uprising Women's Circle who hosted me. I loved meeting you guys in the Zoom. They have got a beautiful community. Check them out. So much greatness. And to everyone who I saw in person at our live events, you just warm my heart. I love doing this work. I love working with you all. Thank you for making my October beautiful. Thank you so much. Now let's get into some wisdom for you guys. I've been doing a lot of spirit work. The veil is thin. I work deeply with my ancestors at this time of year. And some things came up in the classes I've been teaching. So I've been working with my guides and getting wisdom. And I wanted to share that with all of you in our earbud coven. And I'm going to get a bit personal here, as I tend to do. So in my spiritual life right now and in my muggle life, things have gotten busier than I expected, and it's blessings that have brought this busyness. So I've been rebalancing. This fall, I've really been looking at what I can let go of and what I can keep. And some of the things I need to let go of are my own expectations of what I can and cannot do. Big work, huge work for me. And also, it's brought up this idea of not being enough spiritually. This idea that in our modern time, it's really difficult to live a really spiritual life. We walk through this world, you and me, all of us in the Earbud Coven, and we seem to have one foot in our mundane life and one foot in our spiritual life. And many times I feel pulled in two directions at the same time. And I'm sharing this with you, my beautiful coven, because I'm guessing if it's happening to me and I'm getting downloads about it from my guides and from my spiritual teachers, that it's probably also happening with you. We're walking this path together of growth and expansion. And in this modern world, it has its very own specific challenges. I know, like me, a lot of you are not doing spirituality full time. Some of you are. Oh my God, I love the work you're doing. I super love it. I lift you up, girls and guys out there who are walking this path and making your living at it. I still have a muggle job as I do my spiritual work. And maybe there'll be a time when I meet all of my financial commitments through spiritual work. I'm so excited for that time. Yes, to all the blessings coming. I would still need to have one foot in the mundane world because I'm raising people who are very involved in their community, in their school, in their sports. At this phase in my life, I do not have the freedom of time to go on a retreat and study for 3 or 6 months and really dive into some things. And that is okay. It's not a complaint. So I've been reaching out to my guides and getting wisdom around how do we do this? How do we do this in this modern day? How do we do this when there's so many demands on our time, on our lives? When we're walking in two worlds with one foot in the mundane and one foot in the spiritual, how do we get through? Because I have this vision in my mind of what being a spiritual person should look like. I have ideas around what my spiritual life is supposed to be. And my guides have been giving me wisdom about that. And I want to share it with you. First off, my ideal is based on Hollywood, right? It's totally based on Hollywood. And this idea of this gothic witch or this woman in the forest, and it's all over TikTok. I super love the bog witch TikTok reels. Oh my God, they make me laugh so much, like living in a bog with nothing but spiders and cauldrons. And I love that aesthetic. I really love that aesthetic, but it's not the reality. First off, my kids would hate living in a bog. And who would come out to a bog and see me for their tarot readings? And this is the question I keep bringing to my guides because I know I am on the path I'm supposed to be on. Spirituality is woven into my life. This is my calling. I'm here to teach spirituality. I'm here to read tarot cards. I'm here to give spiritual advice and guidance to people. That's part of my purpose. I feel on purpose when I'm doing it. I love the work, this podcast, everything. It fills my life with such joy. How can I balance it? So what I want to do on this podcast today is give you the wisdom I've been getting from my spirit guides about how we can live between two worlds, how we can balance, how this modern world is so different from the one we think of. Like the priestess of old isn't the same role as it is today. Like it is, but our culture is so different. So the role has to shift. There is not a central place for people to go in our community for tea leaf reading and spiritual advisement and finding whether or not they're on their purpose. Like these practices were normal in traditional ancestral living. And I feel like we're missing that spirit connection in our life, that direct connection to the divine, to our spiritual purpose. And we're seeing that in the way our modern culture is shifting back to these ancient practices, to living in flow and living in sync. My guides show me how our worlds interconnect. So it's like we are in this mundane world all the time. We live here, we eat, we breathe, we work, we have our families here. And over top of that, layered and woven through, is our spiritual life and our spiritual purpose. And that is the wisdom I've been receiving this past month, is that spirit is so powerful and so ever present that it is going to work in your life no matter what. This rushing that we put on ourselves to become a super guru, this pressure we put on ourselves to develop our skills so quickly and so fast, where we end up in a place of feeling bad about not putting aside time for spirit. And I know this is happening because I hear this coming from my students. I'll teach a development class and I hear all these beautiful, talented, wonderful people having this remorse come up, saying, oh, I wish I practiced more, or I want to make time and it's so difficult. And then I see their energy shift and I see this energy of guilt and shame wrap around them. And it's so unnecessary because spirit is always here and it's always going to work through you and with you. It's going to meet you where you're at. You're never actually putting your spiritual development on hold. This is a truth that's been coming through to me over and over, that the idea that we can compartmentalize our spiritual life is a total facade. We are always walking these two realms. They are interconnected and flowing back and forth. Our mundane life gives information to our spiritual life, and our spiritual life comes back and helps in our mundane life. They are interconnected and interwoven. They cannot be separated. The idea that we can is where some of the pain and suffering in the world is coming from. We have this big movement back towards spirituality, back towards this quote unquote woo culture, because we are craving the natural connection we've always had with spirit. We are coming back to and rebalancing what was lost in the modernization of our world. And we're coming back to it in a way that is in flow and rhythm. The spirituality that's coming up and coming through and manifesting and materializing as our world ages and as our culture grows and as the stars shift. Like we have, I don't know if you know, my loves, but Pluto, that beautiful outer planet of the underworld and the shadow work and everything, we are in a time when it is shifting signs. Like that only happens once in a person's lifetime. Like Pluto moves, and remember, I'm not an astrologer. I'm a big, deep, beautiful fan of astrology, and I follow great astrologers because I study tarot and I dabble in astrology. But go look it up, my love, because Pluto is shifting and our whole consciousness is shifting with us. It's coming around to a new sign. So that means that we are in a place of awakening in our spirituality, because Pluto is, and this is off the top of my head, so it's rough, my loves, but Pluto corresponds to spirituality, the underworld, the darkness, the shadow work, those deep, smoldering, difficult things in our life and in our chart. So with that planet moving to a new sign, like our whole world is undergoing a shift and a change. And we see it in the world. We see it out there in what's going on, right? Let's not get into that. Let's get out of this rabbit hole and come back to the truth that spirit is always working with you. Spirit is always co-creating with you. What I've been taught by my guides are tiny little things, easy things to work into my life to help bring my monkey mind, my human mind, back around on a consistent basis to the truth that we are always living a spiritual life. There isn't one or the other. It's yes and. We are always in co-creation. One of my favorite tiny rituals that I'm going to give to you today is my coffee ritual. You can do this with coffee. You can do this with tea. You can do this with your protein shake. You can do it with anything you drink. I am an avid morning coffee drinker. I'm drinking my morning coffee right here with you, Earbud Coven. And it's a mindfulness ritual. My life is busy and chaotic. So my goddesses that I work with have been working with me for years on this self-help routine that supports me with my PTSD, that supports me with all the things that happen in my life and in my trauma healing. And I need things to be small and bite-sized. One of them is a coffee ritual. I take cream in my coffee. I make my coffee in the morning. And when I am putting the cream in, I stir it clockwise. Because in traditional British witchcraft, clockwise is for manifestation. It's the rotation of the sun around the earth. When we are invoking, we go clockwise, right? When we are bringing things in, we go clockwise. If we're releasing, we go Widdershins, which is counterclockwise, and it's for releasing and banishing. With my morning coffee, I want to infuse my life, so I'm going to stir clockwise. I pour my cream in, I take a minute, I ground. I've been doing grounding techniques for years, so for me, grounding, 45 seconds, right? I tune into my system, I check that my cords are there. It takes me only that long, babies, because I have been working for like 20 years on staying grounded, and I come back around to it on a regular basis. So I check that I'm grounded. I breathe in. I focus on my manifestation for my day. Often it is peace or joyfulness or harmony. If I know that my muggle job is going to be challenging, sometimes I'm weaving in some protection, some resilience. I focus on that and I stir it into my coffee. I visualize and I breathe it into my coffee. I think about what I want to create in my life that day. I pull it down from the ethers. I channel it down. I channel that energy down and I pour it into my coffee. For me, it really helps that the cream changes the color of the coffee, right? So as I pour the cream in, I'm visually seeing a change. So my monkey mind has something to attach to, so that my energy work has an anchor in reality, and I stir it in. And every sip of that coffee, I know I'm ingesting harmony. And I can feel the warm liquid go into my belly, go into that cauldron where I create, and I feel the harmony in my life. And then, I sip my coffee, but every sip, I'm a little bit mindful. Some days this ritual is more amazing. Like I'll make a cup of tea in the evening if I'm stressed, and I'll really be mindful with every single sip. But in the morning, like this is an easy way. We can weave our spirituality into our mundane life. I want to give you another ritual, and it feels really right because I can hear a friend in my mind right now as I talk about it. I have a beautiful friend who I did a lot of spiritual work with, and I sat beside at almost every psychic fair I did in the Lower Mainland. If she was there, we sat together. One of the most giving women. Anyone who knows who I'm talking about knows who I'm talking about. And one of her rituals to get her through the day for resilience is she would imagine a great big red rubber ball, the kind you would use in kindergarten, and that vision would connect her to her inner child and that truth that she is perfect and lovable. And she would imagine a rubber ball in front of her, and if anything came at her, she would just know it would bounce off that ball. And she would even use the mantra of, "I'm rubber, you're glue." And connecting to that complete childhood joy was such a powerful ritual for her. And I've taken it on too. When I am with someone at work who is just super stressed and cannot even, and their emotions are flying off of them, I use my beautiful friend's rubber ball mantra. And I envision that beautiful rubber ball around me, bouncing everything off, creating resilience for me. We can ritualize our day in some of the smallest ways. And this is the truth I've been getting this month from my guides, to come back to basics, to come back to how are we walking every day in tiny moments. And one of the truths I've been getting a lot of is that our spiritual work does not have to be Gandhi big. You know what I mean? Like Gandhi's amazing. He did amazing things. We're not all called to that kind of purpose. We're not all called to Mother Teresa's sacrifices. We're not all called to that work. Your work is still valid. Your work is still important. You are just as important. Every time you choose wholeness and love over turmoil, you are changing the world. You are absolutely changing the world. When you bring the light to you and to your life, you are increasing the vibration of this world. You are helping us move through this transition that we're in. You're helping us become a better culture, a better society. And that is the real magic of living a spiritual life, right? Of having that perspective, that top-down view for the things that are going on. And I feel like sometimes that's hard. And I'm going to try to share a little bit without breaking the confidence of some of the people I love, because I want to protect them. There's 3 people on this planet that are the most important to me. And one of those people is walking through a difficult time right now. There's a lot of tears around them right now. There's a lot of change around them right now. And I'm in their corner, and they know it fiercely. The tricky thing is because I have one foot in the spirit world all the time, and my third eye is wide open, and my heart is wide open, and I connect regularly with my patron goddesses and gods, and I talk with my spirit helpers every day. I have that top-down view of this situation in my loved one's life. It's difficult. However, it's beautiful. When we can put on our spiritual spectacles, when we can put on our wisdom cap and look at difficult times in our life through the lens of what is happening on the big picture, that is living a spiritual life. When we can see the threads of our decisions and how they are rippling through our timeline, and how that thread is connected back to our ancestral line, to the energies that flow in our family of origin, the lessons of our soul tree and our previous lives, when we're looking at the pages of the Akashic records and the threads and how they weave in this world, that's what living a spiritual life is. And it's actually not easy. What's really necessary when we are developing our spiritual senses and when we are coming to this life of priestessness, what's necessary is compassion. Compassion for not just what we're going through right now, but compassion for the ancestors that brought us to this lesson. Compassion for those teaching us this lesson. Compassion for our human selves as we fumble and stumble through the lesson. Because we are always exactly where we're supposed to be. We are always doing the best. And Spirit is powerful enough. This school of humanity is beautiful enough to teach you, no matter what you decide and no matter what you do. Everything you think is a failure is not a failure. It's just a path you didn't know you could take. Your spirit guides are always conspiring in your favor. They're always moving and shifting things around you so that you can live the most fulfilling life possible. Well, that was a big message, but it's true. It's very, very true. So circling back to my loved one, I sit as a priestess, watching their life, knowing they'll be okay, and having a human reaction to it at the same time. And that's the tricky thing, right? That's where we need to bring the compassion. That's where I need to do my spirit work, because I want to rescue my loved one. I want to make it better for them, but I'm wise enough to know, I've been on this path long enough to know that I can't fix their life. What I can do is hold space so that they can process emotionally spiritually, and so that they can get through, so that they know they're not alone, and that they know I trust their innate wisdom. Because I tell you, this person I'm speaking of, the one that makes me worry, that makes me pull out my tarot cards over and over, checking on them, they've got this. They are a powerhouse. And I'd like to offer you, if you're going through something tumultuous too, I know it's hard because I've been through my own Phoenix fire. If you can't see the top-down view, if you can't see that you are actually exactly where you're supposed to be and you are succeeding and you are getting through it simply because you woke up today, because you continued to take care of yourself today, let me tell you that I have faith in you, that I know that you can get through this, that I believe that your spiritual team did not bring you this far to drop you on your ass. Your gods and your ancestors are always conspiring in your favor. Just keep doing the little things. Just keep doing the little things. And I guess I'm sharing about my loved one because maybe I want them to know that they're going to be okay, but also because I want you to know, if you're like me and your eyes are wide open and you see the spiritual connections and you're watching people you love go through hardships, that's part of this path. That's part of living this spiritual life. And all we can do is hold space. We cannot change anyone. We cannot make them do anything. We can hold space. We can be the safe harbor so that they can trust their guides and do their spiritual work. And we actually, honestly, we have no idea what someone else's path needs to be, what their guides are working on them with. So unless we're asked for assistance, we have no business rescuing anyone. Cheerleading, yes. Holding space, yes. Being a soundboard, being a support, lending your energy, 100%. That's the role of the priestess, I guess. Which I think brings us full circle back to where we started this podcast. So I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope that this podcast helped you today, that you received something today from what I'm putting out in the world. And I just wish you the best, my dear, beautiful coven. I'm so grateful for the time you spend with me. I'll be recording again soon. And until then, please subscribe. If you're enjoying the content, recommend it to a friend. Let's grow our little podcast. Let's grow our little earbud coven. You can connect with me through my website, www.jodiannepsychicmedium.com. That's where you'll find show notes and all kinds of things relating to the podcast, as well as my spiritual work. I have a YouTube channel. That might be where you're listening to this. It's most easily found by searching up The Witching Half Hour or so. And that is my handle on Instagram and TikTok as well. The Witching Half Hour or so. Thank you so much for spending time with me here in your earbuds. And I will talk to you soon, my love. The time that I lovingly refer to. Oh my God, Luna just burped. That was weird. I hope she's okay. Okay, that's definitely an outtake. A little bit of unstickiness. One of my beautiful friends used to call it. Oh, I'll go back to that. I'll go back to Luna. Quickly stirring this in reality, this is how it looks like. I make my coffee, I think about what it is, I ground, I stir it in, and I run into the bathroom, and while I'm putting my contacts in, I sip.